Welcome back to Bell Rock. So now you know the secret of the Reverend Michael Wigglesworth. And if you don't, then you should watch part 1. Michael Wigglesworth is the beloved minister of the First Parish of Malden and one of the most popular authors of his time. And this popularity is both an opportunity and a threat to one of the most ambitious men of the Puritan era, the Reverend Increase Mather. Increase Mather was the minister of the Second Church of Boston, which was in the North End. When his home burned down in 1676, a new house was built in its place, and that house is today's Paul Revere House. Increase Mather was an ambitious man. Being the minister of the Second Church and the president of Harvard made him a very influential figure in New England. But his dream was to establish a Mather dynasty here in New England. If he had his way, I'd be living in Massachusetts. The problem was New England had no institutions that the Mathers could take over that would give them the power that they sought. The Puritans were not a denomination. Every church was an independent congregation. So Increase Mather has to find a way that he can control or influence what ministers in other towns are saying and doing. So he created the Cambridge Association. On paper, the Cambridge Association looked like an alumni organization, almost a fraternity for Harvard graduates, when in fact it was a gathering of all the leading Puritan ministers of the area, so that Increase Mather could have greater influence and control. Which meant there was one minister Increase Mather had to invite: his former teacher, Michael Wigglesworth. The Cambridge Association first meets in 1691. Their first and only order of business, a letter from the minister at Salem. The people are looking for help. They get the Mathers. In the span of a few short months in 1692, 19 men and women are hanged and one is slowly crushed to death by rocks in an episode of mass hysteria that we now know as the Salem witch trials. Hundreds of people all over Massachusetts are accused, including 4 women from Malden. But while all of Massachusetts is consumed with witch hysteria, the Reverend Michael Wigglesworth is quiet. It is indicated that Michael Wigglesworth's silence was not an act of cowardice, but simply that witchcraft did not interest him. In his surviving sermons and writings, it seems he only mentioned the word witch once. After the Salem witch trials are over, the people of Massachusetts are horrified by what they have done. But it is unclear whether the Mathers will face any accountability. Over a decade after the Salem witch trials, Michael Wigglesworth is on his deathbed and he composes an open letter to his former student, the Reverend Increase Mather. This letter is intentionally made public and distributed widely. In it, the Reverend Michael Wigglesworth not only says that the Mathers need to repent for the sins they committed against the people of Salem, but that they also must make reparations. Yeah, he says reparations. And before the Mathers can respond, Michael Wigglesworth dies. Michael Wigglesworth's letter ends all hope of a Mather dynasty in Massachusetts. Cotton Mather was denied his dream job, the presidency of Harvard, the same office that Michael Wigglesworth had turned down. The people of Malden gather to bury their beloved minister, and a very strange guest arrives: Cotton Mather. Cotton Mather arrives for Michael Wigglesworth's funeral and stands before the people of Malden and proudly proclaims about his rival and possible enemy: "He was my best friend. Never were there closer friends than us. He loved me like a son." And to sell this claim that they were exceptionally close, Cotton Mather said, "And I can prove we were so close because I have all his private papers and his diary." Now it's possible Cotton Mather was just saying that to make them seem closer than they were. But the code he used in his diary he learned when he was a student at Harvard. Just like Increase Mather and Cotton Mather. Did Cotton Mather read his diary and know the truth? Was Cotton Mather sending a warning to anyone in Malden who may have also known? We'll probably never know. And so today, Michael Wigglesworth is not just remembered as a minister, an author, and a friend, but as an icon for anyone who feels they don't belong. And you do belong. And that's the Reverend Michael Wigglesworth. And the end of Rock-tober. Or is it? See you soon.